Emily's journey from betrayal to triumph. Welcome to Life Tells Stories, your channel for gripping tales of resilience, betrayal, and unexpected triumphs. Today, we bring you the compelling story of Emily, who was left with nothing by her husband, but she shocks everyone by showing up at her father-in-law's will reading. Would you have the courage to confront those who betrayed you, even when all hope seemed lost? Stay tuned to find out how Emily's journey from heartbreak to triumph unfolds. If you love powerful stories about overcoming adversity and standing tall against all odds, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Let's dive into this extraordinary story. The rain poured relentlessly as Emily parked her aging sedan in front of the grand estate that once felt like a second home. She stared through the rain-smeared windshield at the mansion's imposing marble columns and ornate iron gates. Feeling the weight of betrayal settled heavily in her chest. It had been 2 long years since her husband, Ryan, left her. Once she had been part of this opulent world, but now it seemed like a cruel monument to everything she had lost. Ryan had seemed like a dream come true at first, handsome, successful, and from one of the wealthiest families in the city. For a while, Emily believed she was living a fairy tale. But over time, the true Ryan emerged. A controlling, selfish man who thrived on power and manipulation. Despite her love and loyalty, Emily was never good enough for his family standards. When Ryan left her for a younger, glamorous socialite named Victoria, Emily was blindsided, thrown out of their home with little more than a battered suitcase and a broken heart. Life after Ryan had been a struggle. Emily, a school teacher, was forced to work extra hours to make ends meet. Her tiny studio apartment was a stark contrast to the luxury she once knew. But amidst the challenges, Emily found an inner strength she hadn't realized she had. She refused to break. Now, as she sat outside the Carmichael estate, she gathered her courage to face those who had treated her like an outsider. She wasn't here to be humiliated again. She was here for herself. The shock of receiving an invitation to the will reading still lingered in Emily's mind. It had arrived only a week ago, in a thick envelope embossed with the Carmichael family crest. Delivered to her modest apartment by courier, Emily had almost thrown it away, believing it must be a mistake. Yet, curiosity got the better of her. And now here she was, ready to enter the mansion. Emily had mixed feelings about Ryan's father, Henry Carmichael. He had always been distant, but not overtly cruel. While Ryan's mother and other family members had often made their disdain for Emily clear, Henry had remained indifferent, almost as if he was observing everything from a distance. Now, as Emily stood in the doorway, she felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. The butler led her into the study, where all eyes turned to her in shock. There stood Ryan, arm around Victoria, and other family members whispering among themselves. The hostility was palpable, Ryan's face twisted in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Emily held up the envelope. "I was invited," she replied calmly, refusing to let her voice waver. Before Ryan could say another word, the lawyer, a composed and dignified man, stepped forward. "Emily Carmichael is here because she is a listed beneficiary in Mr. Henry Carmichael's will." The room erupted in chaos. Ryan's face turned red as he sputtered protests, while Victoria looked utterly stunned. Other family members muttered amongst themselves, glancing at Emily with a mix of confusion and disdain. The lawyer cleared his throat, silencing the room. Mr. Carmichael made several amendments to his will before his passing. These changes were made in private, without influence from any family member. Emily Carmichael is listed as a direct beneficiary. Emily felt her heart race. She had anticipated hostility, even mockery, but she hadn't expected this. Why had Henry included her in his will? The man had barely acknowledged her during her marriage to Ryan. As the lawyer began detailing the assets and their distribution, the room grew colder with tension. Emily learned that Henry had left her something significant, something Ryan and his family had clearly believed should have been theirs. When the lawyer announced that Emily was the new owner of the Carmichael Vineyard, one of the jewels of the family's empire, Ryan snapped. He slammed his fist on the table, shouting, "This is outrageous. She has no right." The lawyer remained unfazed. "Mr. Carmichael's will is legally binding. If you wish to contest it, you are welcome to do so in court, though I must warn you, his preparations were meticulous." Ryan's bravado began to falter as the weight of the lawyer's words sank in. For the first time in years, Emily felt a spark of power, a small victory against the man who had tried to destroy her. After the will reading concluded, Emily stood alone, clutching the copy of the document. The lawyer had given her the keys to the vineyard, along with papers officially transferring ownership. It was surreal. The vineyard was an expansive estate known for its world-class wines. Emily remembered visiting it once during her marriage. Ryan's family had treated her like an outsider then, relegating her to menial tasks while they basked in luxury. The idea that she now owned it felt almost impossible. She decided she needed to see it for herself. The next morning, Emily drove to the vineyard. Her modest sit-in looked out of place on the grand driveway, surrounded by rows of grapevines, blanketed in morning mist. As she stepped out of her car, she was approached by a man with salt and pepper hair and a kind expression. "You must be Emily," he said, introducing himself as Henry, the vineyard manager. He added, "Mr. Carmichael spoke highly of you. He said you were the only one who treated people with kindness, even when you didn't have to." Emily was taken aback. Henry Carmichael had noticed her. She had always believed he barely acknowledged her. It was in that moment, standing in the middle of the vineyard, that she began to realize that this inheritance wasn't just about money or property. It was about something deeper. Henry led Emily inside the estate's main house and into a study lined with bookshelves. On the desk sat a small stack of letters, each addressed to her in Henry Carmichael's handwriting. "These arrived shortly before he passed," Henry explained. "He asked me to hold on to them for you." Emily hesitated before picking up the first letter. The paper was thick, the handwriting elegant but slightly shaky. She unfolded it and began to read. "Dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I have passed, and you've been pulled back into the chaos of the Carmichael family. For that, I apologize. I needed to ensure you were taken care of. You might wonder why I left the vineyard to you. The truth is, I admired you more than I ever let on. You were kind, patient, and loyal, qualities my son never deserved. When Ryan betrayed you, it broke something in me. I saw too much of myself in him. Selfish, arrogant, blind to what truly matters. The vineyard was always meant to be a legacy of integrity and hard work. I couldn't trust Ryan to honor that, but you have the strength and character to make it thrive. I hope this gift brings you peace and stability. Sincerely, Henry Carmichael." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she read the words. Henry had seen her, truly seen her, even when she felt invisible. The vineyard wasn't just an inheritance. It was a validation of her worth. Word of Emily's inheritance spread quickly, and it didn't take long for Ryan to show up at the vineyard. He arrived unannounced, striding into the house as if he still owned it. Emily was in the study, reading through Henry's papers, when she heard Ryan's voice booming down the hallway. "This is ridiculous," he shouted as he stormed into the room. "That vineyard belongs to me. My father had no right to give it to you." Emily stood her ground, her voice calm but firm. "He had every right, Ryan. He made his wishes perfectly clear, and I'm going to honor them." Ryan's face darkened with rage. "You can't possibly think you can manage a vineyard. You're a schoolteacher. Sell it to me and save yourself the embarrassment." Emily crossed her arms, her resolve unwavering. "I'm not selling, and if you think you can bully me, you're wasting your time." Ryan's fury was palpable, but Emily refused to back down. After a tense standoff, Ryan finally stormed out, slamming the door behind him. For the first time, Emily felt truly free. Running the vineyard wasn't without its challenges. Emily had no experience in winemaking, but she was determined to learn. She spent hours with Henry, the vineyard manager, learning about the business. She pored over Henry Carmichael's meticulous records, absorbing everything she could about the production process. Initially, the workers were skeptical of Emily. They had been used to the Carmichael family's dismissive attitude, and it took time for them to warm to her. But Emily treated them with respect, always asking questions and listening to their advice. Slowly but surely, she earned their trust, and the vineyard began to flourish under her leadership. Ryan wasn't ready to let go of the vineyard without a fight. 2 weeks later, Emily received a summons to court. Ryan was contesting the will. He argued that Henry had been manipulated and that Emily was unfit to run the vineyard. The first court hearing was a spectacle. Ryan had a team of high-powered lawyers, while Emily had only Walter, an older attorney recommended by Henry in his letters. The courtroom was filled with tension as Ryan's lawyers painted Emily as a gold digger. They presented witnesses, distant relatives, and former employees, who claimed she was only after the family fortune. Emily listened in silence, her hands clenched in her lap, feeling the sting of the accusations. But Walter remained calm and composed. He presented Henry's letters to the judge, which clearly outlined his intentions. The letters were undeniable proof of Henry's wishes, and one by one, Ryan's arguments crumbled. Walter ended with a powerful statement. Mr. Carmichael chose Emily because she exemplifies the qualities he valued most: kindness, resilience, and integrity, qualities glaringly absent in the plaintiff. The judge ruled in Emily's favor, upholding the will. Ryan stormed out of the courtroom, defeated. If you made it this far, let us know in the comments. Do you think Ryan ever really cared for Emily, or was he only interested in control? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Months passed, and Emily fully embraced her role as the vineyard's owner. With Henry's help, she introduced sustainable farming practices and expanded the distribution network. The vineyard gained recognition for its innovative approaches, and Emily's reputation as a savvy businesswoman grew. She was no longer the outsider struggling to fit in. She was a leader. Word of her success spread, and soon a prominent magazine reached out for an interview. The article was published with the headline, "From Betrayal to Triumph: How One Woman Turned Heartbreak into a Thriving Legacy." It highlighted Emily's journey, from being abandoned by Ryan to becoming the owner of a successful vineyard. Ryan, meanwhile, faced public ridicule. Victoria left him, taking what little remained of his dwindling fortune. Years later, Emily stood on the balcony of the vineyard's main house, looking out over the rows of grapevines bathed in golden sunlight. The vineyard was alive with activity, workers harvesting grapes, trucks coming and going, and families enjoying the annual harvest festival Emily had established. It had become a beloved tradition, drawing people from all over to celebrate the vineyard's success. Near the edge of the vineyard stood a plaque in Henry Carmichael's honor, reading, "In memory of Henry Carmichael, a legacy of integrity and resilience." Emily smiled as she looked at it, feeling a deep sense of peace. The vineyard had become more than a business. It was a testament to the power of kindness, perseverance, and quiet strength. Emily's story reminds us that true strength isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet, steady, and rooted in resilience. Her journey from heartbreak to triumph is proof that even when everything seems lost, we can find our way to a brighter future. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of overcoming adversity. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep believing in your strength. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Tells Stories for more inspiring and empowering stories that remind us all of the power within us. Share this story if you believe in the power of resilience. Goodbye for now, and we'll see you in our next story.